You've tuned into Late Night Love, the only late hour show brave enough to dive into the cubicle, the cradle, and the bedroom. I'm Jazz. She's Lovey. Tonight we've got 3 deep dives, into our life segment, our love segment, and our relationship segment. Those of you who listen to this live get all 3, and then they get released individually during the week after the magic of editing fingers go through that. You know how that goes.
Yes.
And so it's a warm day here, so if we seem to be sweating, it's because we're in a garage and it's like hotter than heck outside.
It really is.
So it's summer and it is. And while we have air conditioning here, yeah, it's a converted garage.
It would be really bad without the air conditioning.
We do have an air conditioner you can hook up to the window, but it's too loud actually.
We can't do that and record at the same time. Yeah.
No, but we could make it really cold in here, I suppose, and see if we can get through the hour. We start the show and bundled up, freezing. We end the show with peeling layers off because by the time the show's over, it's hot. All right, so let's sit down. Lovey's had a vacation, so we appreciate you guys' patience for us missing last week. But Lovey went on vacation, got to spend some time with the granddaughter. I got to spend some time with the granddaughter here in town. That was nice, and it was a granddaughter-y week.
It was. It was a wonderful week.
Yeah. It was an expensive week, but it was.
It was very expensive.
But it's nice. Sometimes you got to do those things. So we are just gonna hop right into our life segment. The AI called it Life Lab. Don't know why, but our Workday dramas and off-the-clock mysteries from profit margins to potty politics.
Yes.
And we don't mean petty politics. We actually
actual potty politics.
Yeah, we said that right. That wasn't a miss. That was the description we've got for that one this week.
Yes.
So, all right. So we ready for our intro for this week?
Yeah.
All right. Welcome to Life Lab. Welcome to our life segment where we diagnose the workplace strangest dilemmas. Our one CEO wonders how to coax employees past 5 p.m. without tyranny. A female colleague gets called out for peeing standing up. Someone scrambles a 1-week notice trip versus work from home. Plus, why do head gasket replacements at the shop die young compared to factory installs? It's life segment. We cover everything.
We cover everything. Yes, we do.
Even from your, lots of those work segments, but they cover more than just work. It's just we got in the habit of doing lots of work segments.
Yeah,
so
we did.
We're trying to break these habits.
Okay.
So, all right. So we're just gonna hop right in tonight. I don't have anything prepared other than unless you've got something to talk about on life segments.
No, I'm sorry, I don't.
I didn't either. So,
I don't have anything prepared.
like I said, it's been a busy week.
Very busy.
All right. So what do we got to start with tonight?
Okay. In my company, every employee leaves at 5 p.m. And this is starting to take a toll on the company's profit margins. As a CEO, how do I get those workers to go the extra mile to provide more value to the company?
What, you expect them to stay past their work time?
Yes.
Without somehow paying them?
Yes.
Are you paying them their time and a half?
No.
Well, then you wouldn't expect any. You've got to give what you want. If you want a certain type of behavior, you have to give that certain type of behavior. People will go the extra mile for you if you're willing to go the extra mile for them. It's a simple equation. And it's not just pay. Some people prefer flexibility over pay. I'll take less money if I get flexibility. Sure, I'll stay late if I can come in late.
Yeah.
My job doesn't require me. I'm bored for the first 2 hours of my day. I much prefer to start my day late and leave later because I feel more productive. People will do that for you. Now maybe the issue is you haven't properly managed your people and haven't properly managed the time. And you're trying to get all your work done during this theoretical 8 to 5 hour, but because of the way your customers work, you can't really do that. And so you need to adjust your shifts. Some people come in early to deal with the people on the East Coast. Some people come in a little later to deal with the people on the West Coast. You may even need a small night shift to deal with people internationally, depending upon your business, right? Mm-hmm. So maybe the problem isn't so much your employees, the problem is how you manage them. But don't expect more than you give. If you're not willing to give loyalty and to give flexibility and to give proper reimbursement, don't expect anything more than the bare minimum. because you're not giving it. But I work hard on my, yeah, it's yours. They're working for a paycheck.
They have a
Or a
life.
purpose.
This is your life. They have a life.
Yeah, you're working for a paycheck or a purpose. You're working for, it's your business. You've got a purpose. So they're a paycheck or a purpose. You've got to give them one or the other. And if they're just, making widgets, then you've got to give them the flexibility or whatever it is they need. It's a very simple equation. I think we've discussed this type of thing before. Okay.
Okay, this one is a little off. Boss confronted me for peeing standing up, and she's a female.
Okay.
Now she has a phobia against other people's germs.
Yeah.
She can't make herself sit down. She
Okay.
can't.
Well,
She can't do it, dude.
Well, it's actually not as uncommon as you think. It's just hopefully you're not making a mess is the issue. As long as you're not making a mess, it's nobody else's business.
I know, right?
So my guess is she's not as good at this as she thinks she is. Who else is complaining? It's the janitor who's going to complain. No one else can see.
I don't think that was the issue.
How is anybody else going to know?
Well, it's just disconcerting.
Okay, but how is anybody else going to know?
I don't know.
The only person who knows is the janitor. As an ex-janitor, trust me, the only person who knows. You have doors and things. No one else is, and unless she happened to share this with somebody and somebody was brought it up. The only person who's complaining is the janitor. That's it. Someone in the women's restroom is peeing all over the floor. We kind of expect it in the men's restroom at times because children and whatnot. But how is this happening? This is how. I get her phobia. I understand. Go use the men's urinal is the actual suggestion, not the answer to that question. We have low ones for kids. Go use that one. It works. It's awkward, but no more awkward than standing up and. I mean, no one knows.
I think it's none of his business.
It is none of his business unless she's ended up getting it all over the floor, and if the janitor doesn't want to.
Well, I wish I could recall a bit, but this was 2 weeks ago.
So all I'm saying, the only reason anybody knows.
I don't think that was.
What do they have? Do they go to the bathroom Roman style there, where everybody's sitting in open? I've been a janitor. I've never seen women's bathrooms where stalls are open. Never seen it. So, just saying, stop making a mess, and it's not a problem. All right.
Work trip with 1 week's notice. Now she works from home.
Uh-huh.
And 1 week notice?
Yeah.
Work trip?
Yeah, it happens all the time. A customer needs immediate service. You're lucky to get a week's notice. You think they want to pay for you to go on a trip unless it absolutely has to be done? Of course they don't. These things happen. And if you're working from home in a job that occasionally needs work travel, yeah, it's going to happen because there's no one sitting in the office to do it. Your turn came up and such is life.
This is out of their comfort zone.
Well, that means you're learning something. Lots of things are out of our comfort zone.
Very true.
Yeah. I understand it's out of your comfort zone. You're lucky you got a week. You might have gotten a week because it was out of your comfort zone. I know she's going to be really nervous about this. So let's give her as much possible. What's the last possible date we can send her out there? She may have already gotten that, right? Because if this is someone who's routinely does this, Bob can deal with it or Sally can deal with it all the time. Yeah, just tell them to get out there as soon as possible. They're on the next plane because that's what they're used to. And she's been locked up in her house and she's not used to interacting and she feels like she's probably better off that it's only a week. She would be driving herself crazy if it was a month out. You got 72 hours, you're on the plane, you know, and depending upon how long the work trip is, you know, if it's a 6-month assignment, that's a different thing than if it's, hey, you got to go solve a problem as soon as you're done coming back.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's a 48 hour problem. Maybe it's a month problem. Don't know until you get there. You know, you're the one who's got to go figure this out. Yeah. But it means that they trust you and they believe in your ability to accomplish whatever goals they need to go get done. So congratulations. You know, go get it done. You're competent. If you don't believe in yourself, believe in them.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Okay.
What's the best advice a coworker gave you that changed how you approach your job?
Well, we used to have a saying back in the day when I worked on hydraulic hoses. Now these, we called them low pressure hoses, but in the industry, low pressure is anything from 2,500 to 10,000 pounds. Anything over is medium pressure. So we dealt with stuff up to 10,000 pounds, which if something happens, could kill somebody, right? An end pops off at 10,000 pounds or a hose breaks at 10,000 pounds and someone happens to be standing in there, out of the hole. And that's the kind of thing that happens. So one of the things we said is you better ask somebody. If you are not 100% positive, you better ask somebody. We don't care if it's a dumb question. We don't care if it's something you should know. You better ask somebody. You know, we made all kinds of charts, so you know you can ask the chart, but you can't find the answer on the chart. You can't find the answer you need. You find somebody who can find it for you. You leave your ego at the door. You're dealing with people's lives, and if you can't do that, if you're unhappy and you can't do the work, you can't be there because people's lives are at stake. And, you know, that approach has served you well in other places where people's lives aren't at stake, but you still do the best job you can every time you do it. And it's got nothing to do with the job or how much money you're making. It's about you. Forget all that. You can get a different job. If you're consistently doing the best job you could do, people will want to be around you. They will want to work with you, and you can move on to better places. You build habits of doing things halfway, you know, then you're going to have less opportunities to do things that require things done all the way. So just be in the habit of doing things all the way.
Yeah.
And if you don't know, you better ask somebody. Just ask somebody. You know, people, now I get to be now the person people ask, which is kind of cool. But you better ask somebody. I ask people all the time. I don't know. I have this list of questions. I don't know. I need answers to these. All right, let's figure it out. Sometimes the person I ask doesn't know either, but they have more experience than me in this particular area. So they said, we know how to figure it out. Same thing to me. People are going to be the same thing. I don't know how to do that, but I do have experience in that area. So let's go figure it out. We'll figure it out. Or in many cases, figure a way out. There's probably 10 other ways to do this, but this is how we figured it out this time. So is it the best way to do it? Don't know. But it's a way to get it.
What we're going to do.
It's the way to get it done. There's probably a better way. Maybe there's not. Maybe we stumbled on the right way the first time. Don't know. We don't know enough about it, but it accomplished our goal. Everything's good. And, you know, we're in public access TV or podcast creation or all these kind of things. You know, the world ain't going to end if we screw something up. But it doesn't mean we don't try every single time to get it right every single time. Yeah.
The best piece of advice I ever got was I picked up in the military, improvise, overcome, adapt. And that served me well in life too. And it got me far in the work world, you know, because I wasn't always, because I was going to bosses with a solution. Here's my problem. This is what I did. All right. That's another thing. I didn't ask permission. This is what I did.
Depending upon your boss, that can work. Sometimes your boss doesn't care. He just wants it. Hey, sweet. I don't have to think about it. You know, oftentimes your job is to make your boss's job easier.
Yes.
Depending upon your role in a company. Your job is to make their job easier. And if you can do that, then they turn to you for problems to solve problems more and more and more. And that's how you become better.
Work your way up in the company. Yeah.
Not even in the company, just work your way up on your own economic ladder.
Yeah.
Even if it's not that company, it's somewhere else doing something different, but you've learned transferable skills. And, someone sees you, hey, I like what the work you do over there. Can you come work for me?
Yeah.
So, all right. What's next?
Coworker, quote unquote, asking about my job duties.
Oh,
I
okay.
missed a couple, but go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. And this is one of these things, we actually laugh where I work is we say my job description is and. That's it. It's that's one word in my job description. It's and. It's whatever the heck needs to be done.
And.
Just and. Whatever. Whatever needs to be done, that's what I do. But a lot of people, because I don't have the mindset that there's something that's not in my job description.
Okay.
Anywhere, whatever I've done, any place, anytime, that's not in my job description. You're not paying me enough to do that. That's something more dangerous than, there's been times when you work in warehouses or you work on assembly lines and there's jobs that are more dangerous than others. And you're not paying me enough to do that. Not because I'm not willing to do it, but because it's dangerous, requires more skill than, you're paying me for that balance. That's an inherently dangerous job. You've got to pay me more than the guy who's just packing boxes. Shipping orders out. You have to pay the forklift driver more than the guy who's working in shipping and receiving, and all he does is stamp paperwork all the day, right? It's not that job's less important; it's that the other job is more dangerous.
Well, yes, yeah.
That's where the extra money comes from.
Okay.
It's not even skill. It cuts. Managing the in and out of products is actually highly complicated. It's just not as dangerous as a person who's got to go back into the big warehouse and, try to pull some pallet off of a four deck rack. Some moron before didn't shrink wrap it properly. And so there's a loose box that could very well come and fall down on his head. Sure, you've got a rack, but you don't know what's in there. That covers your head. It's dangerous.
Yes, it is.
Or you could make a mistake and knock down the whole rack and have the whole freaking warehouse come down and falling on top of them. We've seen the
videos.
The videos of that.
Yeah.
It happens more often than you think.
Oof.
I used to work with the warehouse. Luckily, it was my boss that did it, or allegedly my boss that did it. We all think his friend did it, and he just covered for him. But the things were up. He hit a gas pipe and knocked the gas pipe out.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So we had to be cold for the month while they got it fixed because we didn't have any heaters out in the big warehouse. So it was cold in the winter. But two, everything had to get shut down while they called the emergency, the fire department and the gas company, and big old to do on the night shift. And we come in on the day shift. What the hell did they do? And why do we have a bunch of extra work to do today? So not only are we cold, we have to do their work plus ours. Great. Thank you very much. But it happened. So back to the job duties question. They could be pimping to figure out their wages. A lot of times these days, people get jealous over how much other people are making. And it's a big thing. And trying to figure out, are you making more than me because you do more than me? Or because you're better at your job than me? Or am I getting screwed? There are legitimate questions in there. But sometimes they are, sometimes they're not. You answer them honestly or not. It's really just a personal choice.
It is. They're angling to find out how much
you're making and trying to compare your job versus theirs.
Yeah.
And that's what it's all about. And you can participate or not, depending upon your views on that or not.
Yeah.
I say my job description is, and you try to figure it out. I'm underpaid for what I do. Yes, I know. Whether it's compared to yours or not, it's a big question. Okay, what do we got?
How many of you who are in specialist or management roles find work to be boring?
Well, it depends what you find boring. I mean, sure. Half of my job I would consider is probably boring. Sitting there and going through paperwork and reconciling credit card statements. And there's no way to make that anything not boring, right? It just is. Unless you're someone who loves accounting or something like that, this kind of stuff actually excites you, which there are people, right? There are people who do this, but for the most of us, this is the boring stuff we do to put up with because someone's got to do it. They're willing to pay me to do this boring stuff that a monkey could be trained to do, quite frankly. But I'm trustworthy enough to do it right every time and double check my work and all the various stuff that a monkey won't do. Get it done in a timely manner and all that stuff. But yeah, half my job is boring, routine, mundane, paper pushing, copying, filing, That's half of what any administrator does. At least I don't have to write grants. That's what.
At least I don't have to write grants. Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of my my view on that one. But yeah, it's boring. But it's what has to be done so you have the half of the job that isn't. Because if it wasn't for the boring stuff, I wouldn't have the other half of the stuff. Where I get to deal with people, I get to teach people how to do this. I get to teach people all kinds of stuff. I get to teach my coworkers how to be better coworkers. I get to mentor people. I get to do all kinds of neat, cool stuff. Get to meet professional boxers, boxing legends, and all kinds of cool things that I get to do. There's cool stuff we got to do. Got to meet a boxing legend the other day.
Yeah.
Comes into the TV studio. When came in to do a podcast, I go, it's hot in that room. This guy's a legend. Let's put him in the TV studio, or at least it's comfortable. Right, we'll put out a thing. Oh, well, heck, we got him there. Let's put the cameras out and just turn them on. Who knows? And it turned out that we've actually made a TV show out of this thing. It only takes one of us, me and our producer here. We went in and, he ran all the control rooms. I did the producer stuff, went off fine. Our lighting is terrible as usual, but that's kind of a routine occurrence with any production I'm part of. I've got bad lighting on half of the screen. I don't understand. It didn't look that way. So, but these things happen and you deal with them. But since it was mostly for a radio show and the video is extra, it doesn't really all do much better. But yeah, I got to meet a boxing legend. So are your roles boring? Sure. Half of them is going to be boring. But it's that other half you should be excited about. And that equation can 60-40. If you got a great job, it's 2/3 is fun and 1/3 of it is boring. But there's always going to be boring stuff, especially if you're dealing with management or specialists. There's always going to have to be the stuff where you've got to do your reporting, right? If you're just specialist, there's reporting that's got to be done. If you're a doctor, a third of your time, at least a third of your time is filling out nothing but paperwork, maybe even more. You're just filling out paperwork and recording stuff for the lady to transcribe it, the transcriptionist person to transcribe it. If you're not typing it up yourself, every single job has got that part of it where it's the paperwork aspect. You don't get to do that. That's what the AI revolution is going to help with. So you actually get to do more of your fun stuff, but you're still going to have to manage your AI thing. So you're not getting away from that. You're still going to have that chunk of stuff where you're going to have to manage the boring management stuff. Yeah. The pencil pushing, paper pushing stuff that still has to be done, even if it's done more efficiently through, modern tools. Still going to take up chunks of your time, and those who can find excitement in that are the ones who are going to thrive. The rest of us, you find excitement in the rest of your job and you put up with that as part of the part that pays the bills.
Pays the bills. Yeah.
Hey man, life isn't all sunshine and rainbows and unicorns. It's, it's sitting there sometimes and having to cut the grass with scissors. There's no fun way to do that. You just gotta sit down and do it. The less you bitch and moan and just do it, the faster it goes.
Yes.
Yeah. So sorry, I got no good answer for that because it's boring. But it pays the bills for the stuff that's not.
It's work. It's not happy fun time.
No, people know that. Good jobs, good employers know that. So they try to add some balance to your job, right? Not all of it's going to be pencil pushing. They try to add, especially if you're a management, you get to manage people and you get to mentor people, and that can excite you. That's what should be exciting you. You get to make employees better employees for you, for them, which makes their lives better because they can earn more money, become more valuable in the economy, all these various things. That's what you can be excited about as someone who manages people. You get to have a direct input on the quality of their lives, not just today, but going forward. And that you can have, that you should be excited about. No, there's nothing exciting about filling paperwork out and filing it. That no one's going to see. You're literally filing pieces of paper that you dang well know no one's going to look at. No one's ever going to look at this thing. Nobody actually cares, but for some stupid reason, the government makes you keep this stupid piece of paper because at some point in the future, some retirement plan might want it. No, they're not going to want this, but fine. No one's ever going to care. No one's ever going to look at it again. But we got to keep it. So we keep it. And you have to file that. There's no way to make that exciting. Just you cope with it.
I get a great deal of satisfaction completing a report.
Yeah? Really?
Yeah.
You want to write some grants for me and Anthony?
No.
You don't get as much satisfaction as you claim. Okay. All right, what's next?
Manager kept pressing about what my family emergency was.
Yeah.
And I forget what it was, but I remember it was legit. She just feels it's just none of his beeswax.
Well, if you have a habit of taking family emergencies and whatnot, it's more as business than if this thing just kind of crops up. If it's just, a family emergency, it happens once, maybe twice a year, like most normal people, it's fine. This is your 10th family emergency of the year. You just got a right to ask some questions.
Agreed.
Yeah. So there's some, and hey, sometimes you have a year that just got a lot of family emergencies, but you have to understand what other people's perspective are.
Sure.
Yeah. So, and there's a difference. My hamster is having an anxiety attack. Someone can say that's a family emergency legitimately. For them, it feels like a family emergency, but your boss may feel a little different. And I don't know about this is why most companies now have PTO rather than sick time or emergency time. It's just part of our time off, paid time off, and you either take it or you don't. And everybody knows on occasion you have to take that time off because of a family emergency, because of a mental health day, because you've got the flu, the real flu, you're cold, you got an actual cold, allergies are really bad that week, whatever the reasons are, people have to take time off because you're not going to get any real work done anyway. I'm just going to be sneezing and coughing all day. I'm just not going to work today because it's pointless, So.
Well, there is legitimate, of course.
Yeah. But if this is the first time you've ever had a family emergency, your boss is giving you grief over it, then you've got a bad boss. And again, if this is the 6th time in the last 6 months you've had a family emergency, and the family emergency is, your rabbit is sick, well, your boss has a right to be skeptical of your motivations.
Well, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I remember this one was legit. I forget what it was, but I looked into it.
No, and this one might be legit, but this last 4 weren't. And, so, that's why you burnt. But assuming that this is the 1 or 2 times a year that people have legitimate family emergencies, and the boss is being overly picky, the boss is being overly picky, and tell him to pound sand. It's none of his business.
Yeah.
But there's some balance, and there's a line somewhere in there that I don't know exactly where it is, and we have no idea knowing where this person is on that line. But assuming it's a one-off thing, yeah, the boss is being out of pocket. So we're saying, all right.
Should I tell my job I'm coming in late because of Botox appointment?
Just tell them you're coming in late because of an appointment. Just like, back to the other thing. It's really none of their business. Just, you have an appointment. You could say a medical appointment. It's technically, it's like going to the chiropractor. Good places don't really care, especially if you don't have a track record of coming in late. Now, depending upon your job, if you work on an assembly line, coming in late is vastly different than if you're doing something else. If you're a customer service or a salesperson where you can stay late, or a job where you can stay late, make the time, and not really affect anybody else. It really kind of depends. Mm-hmm. The assembly line starts at 8. There's it is what it is, but still. So no, you don't have to tell them. You just had an appointment. It's no different than if you went to go get your braces adjusted.
There you go.
Okay.
Okay, this one's for you.
Yes.
Why does a head gasket replacement by mechanics last only a few years, but the same job done by the factory lasts for decades? What do factory technicians know and do that mechanics don't?
Well, there's 2 things. You didn't have to say a factory technician. Out of the factory, the well lasts for decades, assuming you don't overheat your car and warp your heads.
Yes.
Which, if you've overheated your car and warped your heads, and you expect just to be able to slap on a new head gasket and have it last for years, the problem is you didn't properly repair the problem.
Yeah.
The problem is you didn't.
I totally understand what you're saying.
Here's the thing: your backyard mechanic who fixed your leaky gaskets didn't properly prepare the surfaces to last for a decade. Well, under the assumption, likely, that the car is not going to last another decade, so why bother? Why bother taking the extra $1,000 it's going to take to machine the things perfectly flat? You stick on an extra thick gasket, you wrench it down fast, and you hope it lasts a couple of years. And if you need to, you pop them off and you do it again, because it's cheaper than actually fixing it properly.
Huh.
Because it costs a lot of money to take out an engine, machine the heads down flat, and get it all prepped to work properly. It costs a lot of money to do that. So you slap in an extra thick gasket, you wrench it down a lot. Yeah, it's only going to last 3 to 5 years, but you didn't spend nearly as much money, and you can do it again. But usually under the assumption that kind of car that hasn't been treated that well, something else catastrophic is going to go wrong before that head gasket is likely to go bad, so it's not going to be an issue. It's going to blow a transmission. It's going to throw a rod, something catastrophic. And so you don't worry about it. These kind of decisions are made all the time. Is it worth fixing it properly, or do you just make it work for the next couple of years and deal with it then? So that's a deliberate choice. But the main answer is because out of the factory is a pristine environment. Everything's perfectly flat. The gaskets are perfectly new. Everything is torqued out to the perfect spec. So yeah, it's going to last longer. But once you've warped it, you've warped it. It's never going to seal properly again unless you take it out and go back and recreate that pristine environment to create the perfect seal again. And who's going to do that to something from the 1990s? Nobody. You're just going to slap a new head gasket on it and hope it lasts more than 3 years. Yeah. Okay. What's next?
That was our last one.
Oh, that's the last one. So that's it for our live segments. So please remember, you can find us at latenightglove.us. You can find us on Facebook. And I think really that's all we're much active at. We do post on YouTube and whatnot. So please like, subscribe, share, do all that good, fun stuff. So remember, every tiny boundary tweak can boost trust and productivity more than any forced overtime. So for me and Lovey, have a good night. And please remember to love everybody.
Good night.